Hi, welcome to What We Learned This Week, episode 22. I'm Chalene.
And I'm Liz.
Where it might not matter.
But we're going to talk about it all day long. Okay, just for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 50?
About 50,
About
usually.
50.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, no, really, it's 50, Liz. It's fine. I don't have a timer in front of me.
We don't need a timer.
We don't need a timer.
I've been kind of impressed that we're actually usually like right on 40 to 50 minutes.
Because didn't we remember when, truth moment. Remember when we may or may not have looked at like a clock or timing situation before and been like, yes, we made it to 20 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
That was a big deal.
It was a big deal. I feel like that first 20 minutes is like the hump. And once we get over it, then we
could keep going.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But we get worried about, do I have enough to say? We always have enough to say.
Just wait a while, girls.
Yeah.
And boys, just wait a while.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Tired today, Chalene. How you feeling?
I'm good. I am a little tired, and I sometimes get allergic to dog hair.
Oh, shoot. I have a dog.
But it's not always. But if I get like something in my eye,
then it's all downhill.
It's just itchy. No, that's all that happens is just my eye is itchy.
Do you need some eye drops?
I don't know. I've never done eye drops before. I just usually itch it and then I leave and I'm fine. So,
okay, well, we've got about 50 minutes and then you can be out of my dog hair.
Just look like I'm crying the whole time.
It's just really important to you, isn't it?
Ugh. Okay. Liz, you are in charge this week for leading the discussion, and I know how your mind works, so I'm assuming that you have something amazing that you want to teach us.
Amazing? I mean,
talk through.
Well, there's definitely a talk through.
Okay.
I do love to talk through. Before we get started, I'd love to just remind everyone.
Oh, yeah.
I'd love to remind you about our retreat coming up. We'd love to have you join us. We've got just a couple slots left. Bring a friend, tell a friend, meet a friend, come join us.
It is going to be low key, so don't worry, but you're going to still get something awesome out of it. So don't worry that if you don't know somebody that you're going to feel weird. Because I promise you, when I've done stuff with Liz before, I feel very comfortable. Like I walk in thinking, I'm so uncomfortable. And then I go and the atmosphere is very welcoming and like I just feel like I can share who I am. I don't know. For me, being an introvert, I can totally understand coming into something and feeling very nervous about fitting in or even just feeling like I belong.
Yeah. We might feel drawn to something, but not necessarily how, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I want to do this, but it's so out of my norm, which is kind of the point of it though, right?
Right.
Let's get away from the norm for a second. That little self-care moment. Let's take that self-care a step farther. Chalene's working furiously on our menu, which
means I'm dreaming of food. It's normal.
Which means awesome because she shares her food dreams with us and we get to kind of play with them for a little while as we curate and finalize a lot of that stuff. We have a little gifty for everybody when they come. It's really just going to be a sweet time for you. So if that's something you can carve out, even if you only can make like say the Friday night through Saturday or, it's still just, there's a lot of value in doing that for yourself.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm actually dreading it just a little bit.
Yeah, I'm nervous.
Because I have to get my whole household ready, for me to leave.
For you to leave, right?
Because when the queen leaves, you got to have all the pages ready.
Oh my. The castle must continue to function, right?
Yes. But other than that.
I go out of town the weekend before, so I'm a little nervous because of that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, what was I thinking? And I start school the week before that. It's all good, though, right? Retreat means...
That makes me want to take a nap, to be honest with you.
You hear that and you instantly get tired.
I'm like, good night.
That's awesome.
That's where I'm at. Yeah, that's where I'm at lately. Overwhelming things.
Is summer kicking your butt?
Yes, it really is. And it's never been like that before, so it's uncharted territory.
Oh, I love uncharted territory.
Do you really?
No, I hate it.
Oh, I was going to say.
It's so scary. I think that's why I love it. I don't know. In a serious way. And it kind of segues perfectly. Thank you for that lead, Chalene. It's like you planned it.
Yep, I did go with that.
It's kind of a perfect lead into our topic. It's uncharted territory because when we are doing that hard work, that soul work, that internal work, there's a lot of like self-reflection and self-introspection and all these things that happen, which is great, right? Mm-hmm. Learning's fantastic. Hence the theme of the podcast, what we learned, right?
Right.
But yeah, Liz, being Liz, that's me. Sometimes I finish, we've talked about the hamster wheel spin out, and I really don't want to use that analogy again because this is a little different. Like, it's not just repetitive thoughts that just keep circling in there and whatever. It's more like I'm doing so much introvert work or introspection or introverted work, I guess, like on an internal level. I've internalized so many things, to repeat that like for the 100th time, just in case it wasn't, that no longer am maybe I even seeing things clearly. I'm not recognizing that sometimes things just are the way they are. That's it. Like if we stopped right now, that would be your phrase of the day, and go home and sit on it. Do you hate that phrase? I had somebody tell me that every time they heard "it is what it is," that they wanted to punch that person in the face that said it. Does that like really bother you? I'm super curious if you have like an attachment to it or not.
Well, I see the world that way sometimes, especially with things that I feel like I'm not out of control with.
Oh, uh-huh.
Like, this is what it is. I'm feeding you this for dinner. That's what it is.
Yeah.
But when you say things are as they are, to me, that's a little bit more of an ethereal.
Oh, not not tangible the same?
Mm-hmm. So I like that a little bit better, is recognizing that this experience is this experience.
Yeah. So you and I with the Enneagram talk that we did a little while ago, right?
That's so done.
Okay, yay. That's actually what finished sending me over the edge, if I'm being honest. So, maybe share with us your Enneagram experience, listeners. Super curious how you're handling all that. That was super introspection for me, but I couldn't help but kind of giggle. Like, if you're a bit of a linear thinker, I was wondering if that was irritating you as much as, I don't know. I don't consider myself as linear, and it's been plaguing me.
Has it?
Yeah, a little. To know how do we go back and say all these words, all these things? To really like have in front of your face, yeah, this is kind of who you are. And maybe that's part of the rejection of it, is somebody else telling me who I am. Haha.
Good.
Yeah.
I've had the complete opposite experience.
Oh, tell me.
So I feel like maybe I want the Enneagram to be like a fortune teller for me and tell me who I am, because I don't think I know who I am. I know that sounds dumb.
Yeah.
But I've taken the quiz several times and I come up with a different number every time.
Serious.
And I can look at some and say, I definitely know I'm not this. I definitely know I'm not that. And one of the quizzes I took said, think about what you were at 25 or younger.
Interesting.
And that could be your personality. And I look back at myself and I didn't like myself very much in that age. I was really insecure.
Mm-hmm. But that doesn't mean some of the truth of those underlying traits wasn't necessarily.
Yes, but I'm very resistant to that.
Yeah.
I don't want to go there.
Okay, so that's exactly what I'm talking about, right? Is that resistance that comes, like, that's uncharted territory. To know that I am this thing and to be staring at it in the mirror, and at the same time, that resistance comes up because I'm also not that thing, right? I'm not just a type 4 that is moody and creative. And for those of you that haven't heard the Enneagram topic or chat, it's just a personality quiz, more or less, or it's a way of seeing the world through 9 different types. And I won't pull too much more into our conversation on it, other than just saying it started a process of introvert thinking for myself, like super introverted, of super introspection, that left me in a place where I was really in my head instead. And then it kind of ballooned out of control, right? So then instead of being able to weigh that information with the rest of what just exists around me, right? Like some extroverted action or some taking initiative the rest of the way in my life. I mean, it left me wanting. It wasn't helpful at all to just, okay, you're this moody, needy person and the end. I don't know.
That's really interesting because as I was kind of jealous of
balance.
The people that I could see were very definite. Like I have a niece who is an adventurer.
Oh,
And I guess I'm really envious of those really defined personalities that are very distinct. You know, I can look at her and I said, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" And she says, "I want to try everything.
Yeah.
I've got to experience everything." And it was such this beautiful thing of, yeah, she will try anything.
She probably will. Yeah.
And I love that. And then you contrast it with me, who I'm like, okay, well, I'll do whatever it is to make you happy. And I'll do whatever it is to make you happy. And then I'm like, do I even know who I am? I really admire those distinct. So when you say you're a 4, I admire it so much because you have this like grounding point to move from, and you know, but I can see too at the same point that you feel like you're put in a box.
Or that there's just no more balance anymore, right? So I've spent all this time now thinking of all these things that need correcting and work and, you know, self-work to the point of losing that touch with reality.
So instead of saying, this is who I am, I fit in different places because of who I am.
Yeah.
You're saying, I need to fix it because it's not, doesn't look like I think it should or something.
Because I think sometimes, I mean, I hear what you're saying is, oh, I'm only this thing, as if there's nothing else to you. And I think I did the same thing, but in a different way. Oh, there's only this thing and there's nothing else to me. And suddenly, you know, I'm internalizing everything as a need for self-work. And which, by the way, was even more like apparently type 4-ish.
Shoot.
I know. Punch somebody in the face, right? But it's that, I don't know, it's that need to recognize and hold space for the light and the dark at the same time. I talk a lot about this. I repeat some of these concepts because they're just kind of really in my forefront right now. So I find them everywhere in the universe. I can't help it. Like when I teach in my classes, when I experience something at home or with my kids or my relationships or blah, 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 blah. It's in the forefront because it's almost my personal project right now. It's probably what it is because I'm trying to make peace with it. But part of that making peace with it this last week was truly just coming to a place where I could recognize that some of this just is and be done with it. So I like to think of it in this kind of, I don't know if this will be a metaphor that's useful for everybody, but it was really useful for me. So obviously in teaching yoga, I talk about all the things yoga all the time. I talk about your body, okay? Because it's really important to be in your body and present. That's why a physical practice is so critical for, I personally believe, spiritual growth. Because it teaches us how to navigate something on a physical level that we also experience off of our mat, right? Like being present every single day is super hard. When I'm emotionally uncomfortable, like I kind of giggled when you're like, oh my gosh, that makes me want to take a nap. Yeah. Because that's my first thought too sometimes. I'm uncomfortable right now. I'm out. I want to take a nap. I don't want to be here. This particular, let's talk about, you know, somebody says something uncomfortable in a religious discussion or in a community discussion or whatever. You know what I mean? There's so many places we can be uncomfortable. Our personal relationships, even at home, somebody says something or does something, or we're navigating some relationship stuff that's tricky, right?
Right.
Life's tricky. And so because I talk so much about our bodies, one example I've given students before is, for example, in certain poses, we do things that are supposed to detoxify your organs. That's super great. Like you need to detoxify your organs now and then. Give them a break. You've heard of things like intermittent fasting. We could talk about all kinds of little nuggets that exist in modern medicine that are just great for helping out what our body is supposed to be doing on its own anyways. But we also have a place where they just function and do their thing and we don't know about what they're doing all day long. Right? Like
totally.
Right? Like you don't know when your kidneys are doing their little cleanse through everything. And like, it's just not part of your day-to-day sit with every single happening going on with your organs all day long.
True.
They're
Very
supposed
true.
to just be in the background taking care of business. And they probably come across a bunch of crap. Seriously, right? Like they are filtering. If we knew the germs, not to make anybody super scared out there, but if we knew the stuff that we came in contact with every day, all day long, like, can you imagine? We would be crippled. I probably wouldn't leave my house. Barring our organs having an illness, like an actual disease, they are left to function on their own because that's their work. That's their job. They are where they are. They're doing what they're doing.
I love that.
So I guess I had to remember that even. Like I had to pull back from everything that I'm digging into and remember that it's already functioning at its best. I can create a situation that is optimum, but I cannot control that situation will be quote unquote optimum all the time because it's not going to be, right? Like your organs are going to have to just really work hard sometimes. You go on a flight for 24 hours over to a different country and you're going to have some stress put on your body that's not typically put there. You go to the gym, you're going to have some stress put on your body that's not typically there. Does that mean you should stop going to the gym?
No.
Right. Right? I mean, when we think of it in that context, it's actually quite simple, but it's so hard not to get in that place. One of the other physical places that I go with my students a lot is I have tons that are out of alignment on a consistent basis, right? Like I can say over and over again, knee over your ankle in a warrior pose. And they're like, and I see people try to move their knee and it is not anywhere close to where it needs to be.
Okay.
So does that mean they stop practicing yoga or they're doing it wrong? It's not even close to that. Their body has been compensating in a way that supports them for a lot of years. They can't get to the end result without going through that experience first. I don't know. It's just,
I'm trying to wrap my head around that. So you're saying that their body physically can't do that?
sometimes there's...
Or do you gently go and help them try to get
I
into
actually
it?
am really against adjustments very often anymore. I rarely ever touch my students. A lot of it comes from I work with students with a similar group on a consistent basis. Like I've been teaching some of them for 2+ years, right? So if I'm working with you on a consistent basis, you're already growing and evolving each time you step into class.
Okay.
You don't need me to re-jerk your knee over your ankle every time. Sometimes minimal adjustment is fantastic. So I guess where I'm going with this is, for me, it was this realization, oh, I can do some minimal adjusting here, right? Like I can do there are some things that are great to learn about this, but the rest of it, digging in and forcing myself every day to hold my knee over my ankle is not really holding real genuine space for growth here. That's forcing something and it's making me crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, that's digging in a way that I don't love. Your face looks not, it looks like you're swallowing a lot.
I am swallowing a lot because I guess I'm the kind of person, if I see a problem, I must fix it.
Yeah. Well, I think it's
granted,
human nature to some degree, though.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah. And it might not be a problem that anybody else recognizes as a problem, or there may be a problem I don't recognize as a problem. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I use this example a lot because it's something I struggle with. Little clutter on the floor or something at home. I literally don't see it.
It's not in your view.
But to other people, it's a huge problem. That is so annoying. They can't see anything else besides that until it's taken care of. So I guess when I see something I perceive as a problem, I want to get it fixed.
Yeah.
Other people are like, this is not a problem.
Yeah, this is an issue. What's the big deal here? I mean, I think of how many times I've been corrected on some of my emotionality because it's the same thing. For others, that's not in their purview. That's not their work is other things, right? They're working on other things. And so they fixate on those things. And I fixate on these things because that's some of my work. It's also my fascination and love. And I find it so interesting, but I do struggle with it on a regular basis. So in struggling with it, there's two sides to that too. I learn from it and hopefully I can help others who struggle with it, but we all need each other in that still. We can't have one person that can see all the needs. It's impossible. So I need people like you who see some of the needs you see, and me who might see the clutter or whatever it is. I don't know who I'd be in that example. Maybe clutter. Clutter does bother me a little.
But you look at, if you were married to someone like you that could see all of it, it would be disaster.
Oh my gosh, I would never have picked that anyways either. I need that balance. So the balance drives me nuts too. And I'm like, get up and get moving. Or why can't you see this? Or whatever. Because they can't. And so that helps to bring balance to the fact that I fixate.
Wow.
Yeah.
So even though you look at it as a problem, it actually is an help to you.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I think we really do surround ourselves with what we need to get through life. I don't know. I mean, didn't we joke about this last week where you're like, those who need therapy, therapize others or something? I don't know. How did we get on that with some topic? And those who can't teach. I'm just joking, teachers out there. That's not what I mean.
No.
Just that in my case, like, I'm a yoga teacher because I need some peace in my life.
That's a really interesting way to look at things because, for example, with the clutter issue, because it's on my mind, instead of feeling resentful or that I'm bad, what if I look to it as the other person that can see it as being my helpmate of like, hey,
you're super good at this.
Well, not only that, but instead of me having a weakness, being like, no, you're my balance.
Yeah.
Instead of you're fixing my problem.
Right.
You're my balance.
It's not a problem. The other things that your view is on. So this is a therapist moment. I have to, like, seriously, we need to just interview my therapist one day.
We should.
She called it, have you ever, I think on TV, they don't always show it the right way, but like when police groups or like a partnership is going into a building, right? Or a questionable situation, they will show them like at the corners sometimes and all flooding in through the door. But really, in the best ideal scenario, they're back to back and they have a view of 180 degrees each. So in your partnerships, you would have that same thing, right? So ideally, because of what I'm seeing, that's not my weakness. And it's not a weakness that I'm not seeing what my partner's seeing. You would never blame somebody behind you for not seeing what you can see. They're not looking in your direction.
But I actually think we do.
Oh, we totally do. Are you kidding me? I do the same thing to my kids all day long because I want them to see what's important to me. But their views are not that. They already come to this world with their little personalities and their little gifts and talents and blah, blah.
Oh my gosh, I love that so much. I need thinking of the police officers
stuff, right?
Back to back.
Yeah.
And that my kids and I are back to back and they see something totally different. I don't know how I'm going to use that in my parenting, but my son is always like, you have no idea what it's like to be 13-year-old in the world today. You were a pioneer. But really, I tell him, I don't know what it's like to be a teenager your day. I'm doing the best I can based on what I know.
Yeah.
And I really would appreciate your point of view. It's like
how can I guide you through this if I don't know what you're dealing with, though?
Yeah. We were talking about video games, and I'm like, I am nervous that this is going to become a crutch for you socially.
Because everything that I've been taught tells me that this is the truth of that, right?
But his point of view is, this is the only way I can interact with my friends. How else do I interact? Because this is what everybody does.
Oh, geez. Yeah.
And to a certain extent, he's right.
Right.
I mean, there are, yeah. I don't know. I was like, can we create a society where we, like a little neighborhood, a little commune? Sometimes I see the brilliance of communes, like, oh yeah, it'd be nice to kind of have these like-minded people. But then at the same point, you're looking at the same 180 and you don't have the opposite 180.
Right. Because he is bringing up a valid point. But life isn't all only that. Even if it goes to some of that more and more, I mean, more technology, we have to teach them how to navigate it, not surrender to it without any other view. And you still are allowed to hold your 180 degree view.
Yes.
My son actually tells me similar things. There will be comments that I make that I sound just like my parents, right? Where when I was a kid, this this never happened or whatever. And he's like, I don't understand. And he called me on it one time. I don't understand why you keep saying that. That was when you're a kid. That's not the same thing now. You can't parent me based on what it was like when you were a kid.
Wow.
Ugh. Dang you 14-year-olds that know something.
That kind of almost goes back to what Karina was talking about too, with the wounded energy, is we fulfill a need that there's no need for.
Oh, I know.
We can go into that another time. But
massively compensating for a life they didn't live. How's that even fair? That was the biggest eye-opener. We had Karina Hammer on our show a couple weeks ago. Listen to the episode if you haven't had a chance yet.
It's really good.
It is really good. She talks about wounded energy and reminds us of just that with our parenting. And so I guess circling back to that experience with my students, what is okay right now, right? Like they're okay where they're at. The muscles, everything in their body that's working for their good to put them in that pose that might not be a perfect knee over an ankle is working just fine and functioning just fine. Yeah, some of the muscles that could be firing differently to support them in that pose in a better, more authentic way might not be there yet. But with a consistent practice, it might very well come to that. That's not something that changes overnight anyways, right? No growth really ever happened by being forced or demanded or coerced out of anyone.
Yeah, I feel like almost like
or shamed.
A rubber band kind of just goes the other way.
Yeah, it just builds all this momentum for a not good scenario. And that actually led to, have I talked about Marie Forleo on the podcast before? She is just I adore her. She just has a whole business around supporting creatives is what she calls it. And those that are just trying to bring forth their work in the universe. She's been interviewed by Oprah. Maybe she's interviewed Oprah. I don't even know. Maybe they've interviewed each other. I feel like they all like are kind of in that circle together. I don't know.
Has she written a book or?
She actually just has. It's coming out in like a month.
Okay.
And then she's going to be doing a little book tour with it. But she just has, she calls it Marie TV. And so she'll do she does interviews and it turns into podcasts as well. So she actually does live interviews. I think that's the Marie TV part. But then, of course, records it so that it can be for just the listener, right? So we don't all have to, because I don't have time to sit and watch, but I love to listen. And I get her little emails. I just love her emails because they're so, I don't know, they're so personal and they're just thought-provoking for the week. And every once in a while, don't you love those moments where whatever you come in contact with is exactly that message you need for the week? Yeah. So because I was kind of in this place, her little message came kind of when I needed it, but I didn't love the title. It was like how to cultivate more happiness or something. And I'm like, ugh, I'm so over this. I'm trying to be happy. Shut up. Don't tell me how am I going to cultivate more happiness? But when I read some of the comments and heard who she was interviewing, it was super useful to feel like, okay, I'm just going to listen, right? So this is what finished tying into my learning for the week. She interviewed a brother and sister. Their names are oh geez. All right. We're going to not butcher this completely. Krishnaji and Pritaji. I feel like that's pretty close.
Okay.
And I feel like Prita was the sister, Pritaji. And they have a great background in mindfulness, and I don't know their entire history. So check out her podcast if you want more and you want the actual listening. It was actually only 30 minutes too, which was fantastic.
That is nice.
I know. I did it in a workout and I was like, Dunzo. Didn't have to pause and come back, But they talked about how we see the world. And they said, we see the world through two basic states all the time. It's either a sense of beauty or a sense of suffering. And I know, right? Beauty or suffering. That's pretty much it. And that humans are the only type of organisms that have a challenge that they experience. I think I'm saying this kind of the way that they said it. We're the only organisms that have a challenge that we experience and then internalize it to be suffering, right? Because all of living matter has some type of challenge for survival. We have to eat, we have to find a place for shelter, to sleep, that kind of thing, right? Those are our challenges. But when we experience challenges, the ones that we internalize, those are the suffering. And I loved this relationship between beauty and suffering because have you heard of the term we must overcome suffering before? Have you heard that concept? It's kind of an alternative wisdom. I think it falls in line a little bit with some Buddhist thought too. There's different stages or states of awareness that we bring ourselves. And one of them is suffering. And that when we can overcome suffering, then that's when we find pure bliss or joy. The impression I've always gotten is that it's a one-time thing for some reason. I've super internalized that as being when I'm in a state that's above all this suffering, human, the worries over stupid humanly things like being stressed about whatever I'm stressed about. We could list a ton of those, right? Like getting my laundry done so I can study, so I can feed my kids, the laundry list of garbage that we have to deal with. When I'm over all of those things, then I'll achieve bliss. That's not even tangible. I can see your eyes glazing over.
Yeah. I'm thinking about all the lists of...
Yeah, how is that even possible in this life? I could live in an ashram and be fine, maybe, because I wouldn't have all that stuff. But that's not real, at least for me.
I don't think it is. And I mean, you've looked at people that have tried it
I feel like that reinforces your suffering.
Well, because you have to come back.
Yeah.
Or die there. I mean, you look at like, was it Thoreau and Walden? Was it that?
Yeah, Walden Pond.
Didn't he just go try and live by himself and try? He did. And did it?
Well, it developed his art a lot to some degree too. That was some of his greatest nature writing, but he was also so disconnected from anyone, right?
Yeah.
I mean, so maybe for his work, it was really important for that period to come forth, but I don't think we can stay there all the time. And I don't know that we should. Like this retreat coming up, would we go on retreat for life? I mean, great that I could have all this self-reflection time, but we learn a lot from going through it too, not just...
Well, in the yin and yang, like you say.
All the time. All the time. So I just loved that analogy of we see life through beauty or suffering. And the suffering they were referring to is pretty much any time we internalize and experience.
So it's a mindset.
Yeah, it really is. And it comes from us fixating on it. It's us doing that. And what I loved is Marie, her next question is, okay, so this rings true. Like we can recognize, and when we're in a state of recognizing the beauty around us, or when we're in a beautiful state, we see all of that. We're connected. It's not about myself in that situation when somebody, I think didn't we talk about this? Like, can't we just see the world as that person that cut me off in traffic they're rushing to the hospital, or we've used that, we've used that a couple of times because it isn't about us when they're cutting us off in traffic. It's not, is it really? Right?
But we do make it about us.
Yeah, all the time. And it plays out all over the place for me.
Does.
I can't tell you how many times that I'm like, well, they didn't call me back. They didn't text me.
That means it's me. Instead of their life is a shithole. Just
please make sure you put that. Their life is really hard and busy.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
That's so interesting because I believe that. And even if you can look at your experiences as, like, I think we've said this before, an opportunity to become better instead of looking at it as this opportunity to suffer.
Oh,
wouldn't that be different?
Well, and I love how you phrase that already, because when we think better, we think internalize and work on it, and something's wrong with me, and fix, and all of those things, and that's suffering. So Marie's next question was, okay, great. This sounds wonderful. This appeals to all of us. And for our listeners that are going, okay, but how do I do that? And what I loved more than anything is there was no list of, okay, so first you know what I mean? We're
Thank
so
you
quick
for the
yes
linear thinkers out there like me.
Oh, I was just thinking even for me, like the 5 lists or whatever, like that's exhausting. Okay, so I have to do this every time or I suck as a human still? I don't even know. That's the place my mind goes. And they're like, no, by becoming aware of the fact that you're, by holding space for am I in suffering or beauty right now, you're immediately removing yourself from suffering. It's awareness to your state. If you're internalizing all of that nonsense, right? If you're the one, I know.
Seems too simple.
It does seem too simple. There's part of me that wanted to super reject it because, okay, great. I figured this out the last couple of days that I went into my deep, dark hole of, root out all that is awful within me. And as soon as I realized that wasn't a healthy place, that all should be fine, well, and good, it wasn't. I still didn't feel amazing afterwards. It wasn't like snap and a mind change and mindset change, and everything's fine and dandy again. And I can handle the stuff that's tacking up all around me. But it eventually did. And maybe it's just that one more place of awareness that I can always return to. I don't know. I'm not quite sure how to finish wrapping my head around it. I'm not sure what it'll look like on the daily, because that's a whole nother thing. I learn a lot of great stuff, but like tools, we like lists and tools for a reason because we're trying to do it, right?
The world tools, it drives me nuts. I don't know why. Because I think I want something concrete. They're like, let me give you a tool for losing weight.
So you like that there's a tool?
No, I
that's
don't.
Concrete, or you think that's bogus?
No, I think it's fine. I haven't quite decided why I think it's annoying. Maybe it's because I want something outside of myself to fix it, right? But when they're saying a tool, they're just saying, you got to fix it.
Oh my gosh, I adore you. You know why? We are a match made in podcast heaven. I literally went through a phase where I was like, I just want to hand people toolboxes. I just want to give them some tools. to
just get them out of my face. Just
get
want
that
to be done with it.
If you just have this tool, then you can feel her face. You should see it. It's epic.
I don't know why I'm so resistant to that, because in theory it's a really great idea.
Yeah, because you're just returning to yourself.
But it pisses me off.
Your own knowledge, your own truth. You don't need somebody else to answer that for you or fix it or tell you you're a 2 or a 5 or a 9.
But I kind of do in some ways.
I
want to, and maybe that's the whole thing, is I want to relinquish control.
Maybe.
But I only want to do it in the way I want to do it. So really, I'm trying to control the relinquishing of the control.
We're a mess.
That may be too weird to say. I don't know if that makes any sense, but yeah,
it's
in some
spiral.
ways.
It's that's an internal pattern, I think, is what I'm kind of talking about. Like that's that we just went in and then we went in deeper and then we went in a little more and then we're in the rabbit hole. You are down and it's a mess. And how do you find your way back out?
Do you say, I'm suffering, I want to find beauty, and you pop your head back out?
Is it that simple? You can't pop your head back. Well, they did, but can you really if you're not feeling that way? Because I can tell you that all day long, but you're still resistant, so you're still suffering.
But if I can look at it and say, am I in suffering or am I in beauty? And if I recognize that I'm in suffering, then aren't I automatically in beauty? That's what you're saying.
Yeah. The second you can really genuinely say it and mean it and feel it.
So
I think that's what they're saying. That's the impression I got. Yeah, you have to be genuine. You can't this isn't rote repetition. This isn't self-talk in the mirror, sticky notes. I am beautiful. Are you or are you? Seriously, right? Like, not to be casual about it, but that's exactly how I feel when I don't know. Sometimes there is process that we go through, and I want to believe that we do things over and over again because eventually it sticks and blah, blah. But I don't know. I've been on those 21-day plans like 100 times, and I'm still here going, I'm in suffering.
Okay, so I was just thinking back to the car experience, right? When someone cuts us off.
Yeah.
And questioning myself for just a minute, saying, am I in suffering or beauty? And be like, I'm suffering. That's stupid. I am driving a car. And half the world people have to walk barefoot. Like, is that finding the beauty?
Mm-mm.
Why?
Because you're still in suffering. It's all about you still.
So then give me an example of what that would look like then, if I'm questioning.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like my first sense says that when the person cuts you off in traffic, if you are internalizing it at all, like, oh my gosh, why is this happening to me? I'm always late, or, these people always cut me off, or they're such jerks. Can't they see anybody else around them?
Were you in my head yesterday?
That's all me focused, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's suffering. It's all about yourself, because internalizing and doing work for growth does not mean that it's all about you, which is so weird.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's essentially what it comes down to. So then when you realize that you're there and you're going, you suck because you cut me off and this always happens to me and whatever, there's that kind of moment of, oh, wait, but am I in beauty or suffering? Okay, I'm suffering right now because I'm making this all about me. I really would like to step back from that. And you just, I don't know. I feel like the next thing you do is that's it. Just in realizing it, you're giving yourself a way to not make it about you.
I feel like for me, it makes more sense for me to step into like a gratitude space.
Oh yeah, like an opposite, like you need a direct polar.
But I don't think that's what they're saying.
I don't know. They didn't say anything about gratitude specifically. For me, it was an aha moment of how often I go to this place of it's still all about me. And I was trying, it's interesting because I'd actually asked that question before when I've done internal work like this at other times and had my spiral. It's so deeply about me that I can't see the forest through the trees. And I've actually struggled a little with that because, okay, so now I'm going to school in a couple weeks. P.S. Everything's going to be about me again is what I start to panic about, right? I'm in school. I'm going to be stressed out. I have to work my schedule. If I don't, then what? Everything falls apart. Then I have to ask for help. And me. That's not the point of school. The point of school was not to make it all about myself. It was to better some of my learning experience, but to better as a whole, maybe the direction I go on, career-wise, and benefit my family and some of my lifelong goals. So yeah, that is about me, but not in the sense of everyone has to revolve around me. And when I go there in my headspace, that's what it is. But I liked how it removed for me that place that I just go in my little mind, in my little, I've got to do something different. Or here's the other side of it that kind of triggered this too, just from a little perspective, is I teach at a therapy clinic. We've talked about this before for addiction, or addiction therapy. And talking to one of my students after, I could see that he was so inundated with information that instead of being able to make a decision, he was crippled by all the information. Like I almost kind of hear some of that when I'm talking to you about some things, right? Like I don't even know what to do now because I'm looking at this and I'm looking at that. And if I do this, then I'm doing that. And if I do this, then I'm doing that. There's so much. We have so much access to information out here in the world, especially right now, that we're crippled. We're crippled by what we're supposed to do instead of following the course of what is, so we can just do something. In the Bhagavad Gita, which is it's the Vedas. It's the core text of, I don't want to say, it's some of the yogic texts that we will study sometimes with teacher training. There's one of the characters, his name is Arjuna, and he's trying to decide whether or not to go to war. This is a really watered down version. And his servant appears as a servant, but is really Krishna, which is God.
The God. Okay.
Yeah. And is trying to, I'm trying to remember, sounds really bad. I need to brush up on that part. I can't remember if he reveals that he's Krishna or if he doesn't till the end. I feel like that's not until the end. So Arjuna's asking and just kind of debating out loud, like whether or not to do this. Because the people that he has to go to war against are like brothers and sisters, even if they're stepbrothers and sisters because of how the kingdoms worked back then, right? So it's a big deal. And he can't even make a choice. He can't do anything. He's like, but if I go to war, then this. But if I don't, then my people this. I mean, he's just debating back and forth. And the servant eventually, I mean, the crux that I got out of it by the very end is he had to make a decision at all. You don't know where you stand until you make a decision or until you move into something. And yes, being mindful before, thinking before we act and internalizing our growth and all this other stuff, fantastic. But bottom line, like, I don't always have the intelligence or the capability in my being to move forward with something until I'm moving forward at all, right? I'm not going to give my students, this is how you hold this one pose at all times ever, because they don't even have the developmental strength to accomplish that. They can't all walk into a class and hold this one pose and be expected to do that.
Yeah.
Right? Like, and we can't do the same thing for ourselves. So I guess that's, just a fair place to put it. There's just so much out there. We got to not be distracted and disconnected so much from ourselves that we're taking in so much information everywhere else.
Yeah.
We can't even make a decision anymore.
Well, I don't even think that's being...
Maybe that's why tools annoy you.
Maybe that's not even disconnected with yourself. It's trying to be so utterly connected.
But it disconnects you. Right?
Because you're just trying to find all these things and then nothing's working because it's...
Right. I don't know. It's really tricky because I have a lot of people that I want to have a higher awareness come from them in my life, right? Like I have expectations of what I want from you or where we should be or how things should be different. But if we don't really honor where we're at, how many times have we said that before? But it's true. Well,
and you're the only one that can have any impact really on your life, right?
Oh my gosh.
It's what you allow in, what you allow out.
And the ripple effect that gives for others is truly for them to be where they're at too. Because then it's not about who cut me off in traffic anymore. If I'm managing my own stuff, that person that cut you off in traffic, they go on their merry way.
Yes, has nothing to do with you. And they learn from it
or don't. But if they're doing the same thing in their life, they might not have recognized it from cutting you off in traffic, but they might later when they're in line or, I don't know, navigating a relationship with their kid. And so hopefully, you know what I mean? That's the ripple effect. Isn't that the idea of pay it forward and some of that?
I think so. I think my mind is blown.
Really?
Yeah, I need to go.
You need to go process and meditate for a little while?
I don't know if I would do that, but maybe just check out for a minute. I don't know.
How do you process? Do you check? Do you have to check out to check back in? Mm-hmm. Okay, that's all this is. Check out to check back in.
Okay.
That's exactly what I felt like this was. And I'm being serious. Like, okay. I check in way too much and I can't. Like, that's insane. I'm insane when I do. But when I check out a bit or like, you know.
Maybe that's why vacations are good.
Man, all of it's good. We need all of it. Mm-hmm. I need schedules and I need boredom.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's really cool.
Right?
That's a good quote.
I need schedules and I need boredom.
Yeah.
Yeah, we desperately need both. Humans are cool like that. If you think about it, this is what's so cool about being a human. This is the stuff that, it's the meat and potatoes. Meat and potatoes. I'd love to hear your thoughts on all of this. Have you felt stuck? Do you get this concept of suffering? What does that look like for you? I know.
I thought we were done.
No.
We're not done.
Not yours. Like yours, listener, yours.
Oh, phew.
Yeah, you're done, Chalene. It's okay. You did a good job. You can go. She's literally in. I feel that this is what I read a funny thing the other day that people who record themselves podcasting are just YouTubers that haven't come out. But I'm serious. It's super tempting because you need to see Chalene's face when I talk. Sometimes
I need to see Liz's face in her arm reach over and try and pet me.
I am. I'm like, I keep trying really hard to like stay out of her bubble, but I'm like, come here, let me hug you. It'll be fine. No, not you, dear.
Okay, good.
Listener, we would love to hear your thoughts on suffering and what this sounds like and just being in the place that you're at right now.
Comment on Instagram or Facebook. Let us know. I'm curious if you had an aha moment or if you had a specific experience maybe that you could relate to stopping for a minute and seeing if you were in beauty or suffering. Yeah. I really like examples.
Me too. I need them because I think you brought up a good point about the car one. Wait, so what's beauty in this? Like, I don't understand what that means to get out of, and it's just you-centric thinking. The suffering is you-centric thinking. We have a comment bar on our website, www.whatwelearnthisweek.com.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. We'd love to hear from you. We know you're trying to talk back to us during the podcast because I've heard from some of you that you have something to say.
One of those moments.
I want to hear what you have to say. I would love to respond to you. Trust me, I spend way too much time on social media. I will be there to answer you.
We want to share and create that little feeling of, I don't know.
Connected.
Yeah. Because I think your son brings up a good point. This is how we stay connected as social media. But if that's true, then let's do it.
Let's connect.
Because we don't need to be out there in the wilderness experiencing this all by ourselves. Mm-hmm. I don't want to be in my head all the time.
I don't want to live on Walden Pond. I really don't.
I'm okay. I say that I do and I want to get away, but really when I'm there, I'm a whole wackadoo of wackadoo. I just need Chalene moments like this where she's like, girl.
Wash your face.
Wash your face.
Just kidding. I don't even know what that means. But
me either, but I feel like that was applicable. I did wash my face today before you came.
Oh, good.
And showered.
I didn't.
Oh, it's all right. You have time. You have time.
All right.
Question of the week.
Liz, you have question of the week.
I do. Have you ever bought as seen on TV product?
Yes.
Like from an infomercial or you have? Oh, yeah. That was fast. Okay, what?
It was this broom that has like silicone little nubbies on it.
Ooh.
So you can get all the hair.
Ew.
Like, in the bathroom and stuff, you have all the hair. Well, you have mostly boys, but even with just myself, I hate like wiping the floor or like mopping and then the hair's all there. Mm-hmm. So yeah, you just like slowly brush it back and it gets all the hair and you
Does it work?
Yeah, it works really good.
And you so you have it still, you still use it. Is that the only thing you've ever bought online? Or on like as an
SCT? I think so.
Super random.
I really want to buy the window cleaner one. Have you seen that?
Uh-uh.
You like hook it up to your hose.
On your vacuum?
No. On your hose
outside. Oh, okay.
And has like a solution in there and you can just spray your windows and it just cleans it all and just runs right off. I really want to try it. I think Bed Bath & Beyond has it.
Okay, if you get it, you'll have to tell us if you liked it. We only bought a toy once from there. Like the little toy. But wait, if you buy this now, you'll get 2 orders.
What did you get?
One. It was one of those. oh my gosh, these little car tracks that
The rainbow light up ones? I had that in my mind when you were saying that.
Those were the best. My kid loved them.
Really?
That was like his only birthday present one year. He still plays with it. He's like almost 9.
That's cool.
It's cool. It's a cool little set. And the way they move and stuff. And then the car like lighting up. It's really cool.
I feel like our lives have changed a lot with all of that TV marketing because we don't have Saturday cartoons.
Yeah.
To get those
we
plugs
can
in.
Curate whatever we watch without commercials at all. I don't get any anymore. I just watch what I want and I'm done. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you. Keep on learning and share what you're learning.
Because it does matter.
And so do you.
Did you learn anything this week that wasn't like, were there some not complete mind-blowing moments?
Yeah, I did, and I can't remember.
I know.
Because I was thinking about that. I'm like, oh, I would love to share this. And then I can't remember.
I thought of that too, because like there's just little things too that pop up where I'm like, you know what? Let's talk about those too. Because this mind-blowing stuff makes me still want to, I agree. I want to go purge afterwards or something.
Oh, I did learn something.
Ooh.
Okay. So, you know, Bloom on Facebook? I don't know. It's this group that does hacks, I guess.
Cool.
So I've been researching. My tomatoes are not doing good.
Really?
And they're like yellow. And I do think it's kind of lack of water, but I'm watering them every day and like the flowers are drying up and everything. But I have like a squash plant that I'm watering even less often than the tomatoes and their blossoms aren't drying up. So there's something going on.
Yeah, very specifically with the tomato plant.
So I learned that it could be a lack of nitrogen and you can get hair out of your hairbrush and stick it in the soil and that will get nitrogen into the plant.
From our hair?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so nitrogen. These are hacks like that exist because you can go buy, can't you buy, isn't some fertilizer stuff nitrogen?
Yeah. Oh yeah, you can buy nitrogen.
Okay, that's what I thought. But this is a way to just do it with what you have already.
This is the lazy girl's way to do it so you don't have to go to another store.
Whatever, that's the more organic way, right?
That's why I'm doing it.
Good job. You're going to have some organic tomatoes at the end of this season.
It talked about one more thing of plants, root rot.
Oh yeah, that's a thing.
Hydrogen peroxide will fix it. Like
How
a
do you
teaspoon in
know
a cup of water.
What are the signs of root rot?
Same thing. Yellow
I think
leaves.
I have root rot.
Because it's just like, especially when you have like
a human? Okay, sorry.
Peroxide. Put them in your ears. I don't know.
Get out in the oxygen.
That's a really interesting concept, root rot.
I know, I'm sorry.
No, I like it.
I didn't mean to.
Yeah, but peroxide in a cup of water and just pour it on there.
Really?
I don't know what it does.
Okay.
But the video they showed, real. I don't know.
Looked real. It looked like it worked.
Yeah.
I have plant issues.
So I did put some hair in my tomatoes. I'll report back.
Yeah, report back.
See what happens. Because they're all turning red because it thinks it's like, did you know that's how you get your tomatoes to turn red at the end of the season?
Is what?
You know how sometimes you'll have like this bushy plant and they're all green?
Yeah.
If you cut off the water, they'll turn red.
Because they think it's time to bloom. Like they think it's time to finish. Oh, my plant life is over, so I have to finish.
I think so.
Really?
Or they stop growing and finish. You know, like they have to stop growing before they can ripen.
Because I always had green tomatoes. I gave up this last year. In fact, didn't we talk about this too? I keep asking that this podcast. I can't help it. I don't want to repeat myself too much. But we're just growing weeds.
Oh, yeah. It makes me feel so much better when I go out and see all the weeds.
Like they're really tall. In fact, this one corner is starting to get above the fence. Not like a 3-foot fence, folks. Like a 7-foot fence.
That's amazing.
It's pretty epic.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to decide if I'm going to do anything about it now until fall and just completely embrace them. I feel like I should. I feel like I should just completely
You could do that and then do a lasagna gardening. Have you done that before?
Mm-mm. I don't know what that means.
It has nothing to do with food, unfortunately, or fortunately.
That makes me really sad.
But
because I was picturing lasagna ingredients in there and I was like, maybe that's all we're talking about.
No.
I don't know.
But you are layering. Mm-hmm. So you put like you could turn grass into garden spot to plant in the fall.
Really?
Or the spring, I mean. So you put cardboard down first, right? Because that smothers the whatever organic material is there.
Yeah.
And then you do a live layer, a dead layer, a live layer, a dead layer. So a live layer would be like freshly cut grass or I can't remember what it is. It's not potting soil, but it's like you can buy it in a bag.
Compost?
Some organic. Yeah. Compost is alive, right? It's hot.
Mm-hmm.
And then you would do like dead leaves, or you can do newspaper for the dead ones. Anyway, and you just layer. And then in the spring, after the snow thaws, you can literally just like cut a little hole open, stick your seed in there, and it will grow.
In the middle of all that. So I cannot pull my weeds, is what you're saying.
And you don't even have to
trample them.
You don't even have to put fresh soil on top. It creates its own soil.
Really?
It's amazing. There's a book about it.
Do I need to Google this so that I don't have to pull those weeds out? Because I'm seriously depressed about it.
Yeah. You might have to whack them off to get the cardboard down.
So they're not 7 feet tall.
But I'm serious. You should look into it.
Okay. I think I will.
Okay.
Minus the fact that we tried to move garden sides this year. I know you guys don't want to hear this, but because we were trying to switch sides, that's why it ended up happening. We didn't finish the process, and we didn't finish like moving the dirt down, so it wasn't quite so high. That's the only thing I'm worried about, is if I'm still too high there, that it's not level. But I can still dig stuff away.
I don't know.
All I know is I'm not doing anything now because it's 100 degrees outside still.
You could borrow my lasagna gardening book. I found it at the thrift store.
Oh, yeah.
I was so excited to find that.
That is exciting. I've got a little stack of things here actually that need to be returned to you.
Nice.
I know. I love that.
I love sharing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Speaking of sharing.
Yeah.